Hello and welcome to Connected episode 512. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, ZocDoc, Vitally, and 1Password Extended Access Management. I am St. Jude Creator Achievement Award winner, Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined by St. Jude Creator Achievement Award winner, Myke Hurley.
Hello, I am St. Jude Creator Achievement Award winner, Myke Hurley, and I would like to introduce the one true John Voorhees, who's back again. He's back again.
I'm just John. I mean, I don't have a title like that. But,
one true is a title.
One true. It's not quite the mouthful that you guys have, but hey, all right.
No. Federico's still not dead. I think it's important to reference that as is reference. This is not an act of succession. This is an act of vacation because it's the summer. And look, if you've been listening to this show for long enough, you know Federico in the summer. He's here, he's back, he's here, he's back. He's told us he'll be back, and he's back for good, I think was the wording that he used. So next week, so we can all look forward to that.
He told me that too. There's a rhythm to summer with Federico. There's definitely a rhythm.
And look, I support a man's desire for vacation.
I do too.
I support that.
I just came back from one myself, you know?
I really wished I was on vacation this week. This was a thought that I realized a couple of days ago where I thought, I should have booked a vacation for this week, but I didn't.
You should have.
And so here I am.
All your friends were on vacation last week and you guys were working.
Yeah. But I'm taking a long weekend this weekend. That's what we're going to do instead, just like a London staycation. But really, I should have had a vacation book, but I didn't. But I'll figure that out later. Stephen, what is the St. Jude Creator Achievement Award?
Well, that's something that you and I were given last weekend at the Relay 10 event, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a second. But we during that event, we announced our 6th annual St. Jude campaign. Our fundraiser we do for them is going to start August 28th, so just 4 weeks away. But in announcing that, you and I were surprised, and it was like genuine surprise. In fact, one of the photos that somebody submitted at relay.fm/photos, I have this look on my face like a kid getting a Christmas present. It's like I didn't know it was coming. But yes, you and I were awarded this for our work raising money and awareness for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And it's this very lovely, very heavy glass piece. And now it's in my office.
It's a very, very legit thing.
Yeah.
It feels significant. It's
more than a paperweight.
It's very big. It could be used to weigh down a lot of paper. It's
someone's
very
life.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yes. you could really commit a crime with it.
We could.
Yeah,
we won't.
Maybe that's why Federico's not here. we dropped the Creator Award on him, and that was the end. Oh, poor Federico. So we just had our 10th anniversary show. Thank you so much to everybody that was there. The audio of this event is available now in the Departures feed, which is where we put live shows. Stephen, I've already, on a couple of shows this week, spoken about Relay 10, and I thought I would want to ask you what Relay 10 meant to you a little bit, if you wanted to share with a connected audience.
Oh man, it was incredible. I mean, the company turning 10 is this amazing thing on its own. I'm sure we'll talk more about it because the actual anniversary is a couple weeks from now. But being in this sold out theater with 11 or 1,200 people was awesome. And we haven't done one of these since 2019, and it meant seeing a lot of people we work with for the first time in a long time. It was just, it was so good and so much fun. And I had a blast, and thank you for planning it all. I'm sure people who listen to Backstage and our other membership stuff know you planned all this, and you and Adina did all the legwork and made it all happen. And it was incredible just to be able to walk in and be like, this thing is ready to go. I've not had that experience before during our live event. So thank you for making it special for everybody else.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, it was the best night of my professional career. It was extra special to me, right? Being in London, it made it it took it a level further for me, and it was just that St. Jude Award was the cherry on the top. It was already incredible, and then to be given that too, it's just just absolutely wild. It was absolutely fantastic. I don't think it could have gone any better, and I'm gonna I will apologize now for the fact that I will be posting photos from this event for like the next 6 months on Instagram. Because there's so many great photos that people are sending in. And so, yeah, I'm just going to be just posting so many of these. It was just, man, what a time. What a time.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was great to have our families there. It's great to have all of our coworkers there, our colleagues from St. Jude. Just all in all, just a real just amazing experience. And you know, I don't know, it was really cool. I suggest everyone start a company and let it run for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who was there watching it, I loved it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I didn't make it to your 5th anniversary show in San Francisco because it was kind of in the middle of review time for us at Mac Stories. And so this was my first time seeing you do kind of your Family Feud style thing live in person. And I loved it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. The crowd was very into it. I didn't see a single person who didn't have a big smile on their face and walked out of the theater happy and looking like they had enjoyed themselves.
We did a Standing for the Rules, which was a day of show edition, which was incredible. That was fantastic.
It was good.
That my family were very confused about the stand. They stood, but they had no idea why they were doing it.
Right. Is it time for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah. Adina had to explain to my mom and my brother, this is just a thing that they do.
Just go along with it.
Man, it was so good. Such a good time. But let's do some real follow-up, Steven.
Real follow-up. .mp3. Dual display support has come to the M3 14-inch MacBook Pro. So people may remember that when the MacBook Pro was updated with the M3, there was a lot of hand-wringing because the base model system on a chip only will push 2 displays. And so on the notebooks, that means the built-in display plus 1 external. People are like, no, it's a Pro laptop. You need more than 1 external display.
Oh, look at this new character we've got in the show.
And this prompted Apple to say, no, we're going to have a software update. And that came with macOS Sonoma 14.6, which shipped just a couple of days ago. And now the MacBook Pro with M3 will run 2 external displays while in clamshell mode. So it doesn't allow 3 displays magically. The system on chip is still limited to 2, but if your laptop is closed, you could run 2 studio displays or whatever you wanted. So yeah, Apple made good on this, what they said, and here we go.
When you read this headline, were you like me reminded that this was the thing?
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, they did say that. I'd completely forgotten about it.
This was introduced for the MacBook Air. So this was the timeline. The machine was released in October of 23. You remember that spooky Halloween event Apple did that was fun? And then the MacBook Air was updated and it had it. And that's when people really were like, well, you could do it with an Air, not a Pro. So that was in March. And so it's been since March. There's only been 3 months since Apple said it, but almost 9 months since the machine was released. Anyways, all buttoned up now. And if you're running Sonoma 14.6, I guess probably be the last major build, unless something unexpected happens. We're getting close to the end for the Sonoma cycle, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
you'd hope so.
Yeah.
Right?
It's August.
It's August tomorrow.
True.
Yeah. Myke, tell us about your AirPods.
Vindicated. I got so much follow-up, via the feedback form and on social media for people that have the exact same AirPods issue that I do. There were a lot of people who were trying to helpfully tell me about conversational awareness. That's not what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That is a feature that I choose to use. This is it. But lots of people experience the same thing as me of basically feeling like your AirPods reboot. And I have not found any scenario from anybody sent in that seemed to reliably solve this. It tells me that there is a widespread enough issue that something's going on either with AirPods firmware or with its connection to the iPhone. And so I'm kind of just hoping that something will get fixed in the future. But yeah, it's still happening to me, and it seems like it's happening to many of the passionate ones. So I feel vindicated in that, at least.
Have you started a gate?
What would it be?
Connected gate. Connection gate.
Connection gate?
Connection gate.
Oh, I like connected gate. Let's do that.
No, we don't need to drag the show into it. No.
We definitely do. Connected gate.
Podgate is what I think.
I don't particularly want the clicks, because I've seen what happens to people's lives when they have a gate for clicks, and it ruins them.
Wow.
Steven?
Yeah?
Steven.
Uh-huh.
Come on.
If I was going to do it for the clicks, I would have made a much better video.
Steven.
Yeah.
It wasn't not for clicks.
It wasn't. It was to educate the public.
I don't think it was super well. Yeah, it was like a weekend thing. If I remember,
I recorded that. Okay, so if people don't know, I had a gate once, and there's like this 7-second video on YouTube I recorded literally in my bedroom with a phone doing a thing, and you can hear like birds chirping in the background because I recorded it in my bedroom on a Saturday for a blog post. But these things
You're not
happen.
helping.
There is a rule. We've talked about this before, and John, I know you're aware of this too. There is a relationship between the amount of time and energy you put into a project on the internet and sometimes how successful it is. You can work really hard at something and no one care at all, or you film a 7-second audio clip in your bedroom on a Saturday morning and it ends up on Good Morning America. Like sometimes those things happen on the internet. This is what they're saying.
Absolutely. This is one of those.
Look, in 2016 was a different time for all of us, and sometimes you just put something on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes then it finds its way to NBC News.
Yeah.
But
my grandmother saw it on the news and called my mom, wanted to know if I was in trouble.
I mean, you weren't not.
I wasn't not in trouble.
You weren't not in trouble. Like
then
this
Tim
is
Cook,
I had
Cook showed up at his house,
I had a thing once with it was nowhere near this, but it was like something about an iPhone home button and gloves. Like it was like capacitive home button, and I realized like, it won't work if there's any kind of material in the way, and then it like became like it was nowhere near this, but it was that moment, and just like people writing articles about my tweet was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop doing this. And I think Hissgate stopped Steven from doing this too. You kind of realize that it's not worth it. Like, unless what you really want is to generate this. There are people who this is what they want, right? Like, and like clickbait is not about misleading people. It is just about trying to get attention for something.
Right.
And there are people whose careers are benefited by that. I'm definitely not, and I don't believe Steven is either. I mean, I am definitely not, because all I do is podcasts, right? And like clickbait does not help podcasts. And of course, the two of you both right. And headlines, you do want a catchy headline to bring in people to an article, but catchy podcast titles, I do not believe encourage listening. So
it's extremely hard for a podcast to go viral, and when they do happen, it happens in politics sometimes. Someone says something they shouldn't. It's always actually just like video YouTube interview shows. It's not what we do as podcasts.
No.
Like what we do is pretty antiviral, if you will.
The only clickbait that I can find success in podcasting is naming a podcast episode after a video that Gray has done. That works pretty well.
Okay.
Aside from that, like if we name an episode of Cortex the name of the video he just published, it tends to do pretty good.
I'm sure.
Outside of that, kind of nothing really.
Yeah. Well,
or if I just put state of that also helps me.
I look forward to the next episode of Cortex, the simple solution to traffic, or Canada and the United States bizarre border.
We may have done that. I'm not kidding. We may have done that. Like I actually don't know. Like if we spoke about that video, we probably named it that. That's kind of like a thing that we have done.
That's 40 million views. That's wild.
So it helps, to
be successful.
Yeah. Like, look, we have one here, like making. This is all we do. This like making, and then the name of the thing. So we're like making the Interstate's Forgotten Code in February 2022. So
that's good.
Or call the episode AI Art will make marionettes of us all before it destroys the world.
That was a good title.
Yeah, and it also it generated a lot of views, but they weren't happy people. I can tell you that.
Speaking of clickbait articles and headlines, this is maybe the best headline I've written in quite a while. This was published on June 26th. I'm just a simple Macintosh user asking a bazillion-dollar company for a better way to move tasks between lists and reminders. And I'm very happy to say that macOS Sequoia now includes the ability to move tasks between lists and reminders more easily. This is now example 3 or 4, I think, of me asking for things for reminders, an app that I don't use, to be fixed.
Do you secretly work on the reminders team?
No.
I think he does.
Okay. But I run to the press every year and write a blog post, and they've done this. So now in the inspector and reminders in Sequoia, you can swap the list that a task is on. Thank you, reminders team.
Yeah, I would suggest that anybody who wants some feature in any OS that Apple makes, just send an email to Steven. That's what I do now. I mean, I don't use the feedback app. I ask him to write an article, and it seems to work.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. The trick is to ask for something small and logical, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I still have a bunch of feedbacks that are still open to a bunch of other things, but the reminders team seems very sensitive to good feedback.
Can you write an article about the ability to have your device in dark mode but not have dark icons? Could you write that article, please?
Dude, I have so many. Oh, man. Springboard in iOS 18 is a wild, wild place to be right now.
Yeah, I'm sure you're very familiar with it.
Oh, yeah. So I spent some time staring at the sun, trying to understand.
Springboard for your work.
I have not figured out the rhyme or reason to it myself.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, oh, you like dark mode? And obviously you like everything dark. You are Batman. You must love everything in black.
They've made some surprising decisions there. But reminders, though, I got that dialed in.
All right. You just got to work on the smart list next, because that's the last thing that I think I really need, is to have the ability to create a smart list that includes some lists, but not all of them.
Ooh,
it's pretty. Yeah, it's. I mean,
fire
if you go
up
back,
Mars Edit, Steven. It's time to go.
Let's go.
Yeah. If you go back and look at some of Federico's old reviews, you'll see that he's mentioned it at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but see, that's buried in 180,000 words about iOS. And the trick is to write a blog post with a good headline and include that in the feedback and include the feedback number in the blog post, and then hope for the best.
Do you have a webinar I can sign Federico up for? Maybe.
Well, it's a course.
A good headline webinar.
Yeah, a little SEO webinar that I can send Federico to. We'll pay for it with the out of the Mac Stories budget.
Yeah, John. Sometimes when I'm writing, the headline comes first. What about you? Are you a headline first person, or how
no? I am a person who writes title at the top and then just writes the article and does it at the end.
Okay.
Almost always.
Interesting.
You guys know about the way YouTubers work, right?
They think about the thumbnail and then work backwards.
Title and thumbnail sometimes comes before the idea for the video. Like the idea is the title and thumbnail, and then they make a video.
I've wondered why I am the way that I am in this regard. That's a bigger topic for another day overall. But I've accidentally
someone a lot of money to work that problem out.
Let's get comfortable. This is going to take all afternoon.
Yeah, I've
Steven, just lay back on this couch.
I've accidentally created reconcilable differences and therapy all at once. But I think it's because in high school, college, did the student newspaper thing, and in college, one of my many tasks over the years was actually to write headlines. Because our reporters, they'd often mock something in, but I was in charge of layout and design of the paper, and so I very often would take their headline and rewrite it or tweak it to make it fit or kind of flow better with what we were doing overall. And I think that is what, I still think that way. Like that reminders post, I had it in my back of my mind because I'd written about it before. It's like, I need to revisit this, and the headline is what came first about I'm just a simple user asking a bazillion-dollar company, kind of like the boom box outside the window kind of feeling.
Have you seen the movie? Like, do you know what movie that is?
No. I mean,
it's Notting Hill. It's Notting Hill.
I've never seen it.
That's a great movie. You should watch it. You've been in London now,
it's
so
a good
you'll
one.
like it.
Yeah,
it's what is the name of the actress in that movie?
I forget.
Let me look up in call sheet.
Notting Hill. Julia Roberts. I could picture her, but I couldn't think of her name. Julia Roberts standing in front of Hugh Grant. Spoilers for Notting Hill from 1999, and it's like I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy telling her to love him to love her or something. I've ruined that line. Stephen, go watch the movie and then report on the line.
Okay. This episode of Connected is brought to you by ZocDoc. Being an adult has its high points, like you can eat ice cream for dinner or anytime, leave a social occasion early, or just not go and spend an easy early night at home. But it's not all fun. You also have to figure out your taxes and what's for dinner every night and make doctor's appointments. And for that one, there's ZocDoc, the healthcare app that makes adulting much easier. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, hey, that rhymes, eye care to skin care, and so much more. And you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of a booking. You can even score same-day appointments. Using ZocDoc is a no-brainer. You're looking for a new doctor, something new is going on in your life. Maybe you moved, maybe your doctor retired. A whole bunch of things can lead into the need to find a new healthcare provider, and that can be stressful, and ZocDoc takes that stress away. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/connected. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/connected to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/connected. Our thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring the show and all of Relay.
Surprise! 18.1 beta is out. This is fun.
Yo, dog, I heard you like betas.
I put betas on top of your betas.
That's right.
Stephen, what are these betas?
So it's 18.1, Sequoia 15.1, watchOS 11.1. The watchOS doesn't really have Apple Intelligence stuff per se. But this is the beta that brings along Apple Intelligence. Now, this is region locked as expected, not available in China or the EU. Apple said as much earlier this summer. Weirdly, there's a wait list in the developer beta. Now, I did this the day after it came out because I was flying home when this was unfolding, but I was in just a few minutes. Saw some people in our Discord for members saying it was taking a little bit longer now, but basically you say, hey, I want in, and then you get a notification that you're in.
Jason was briefed that for the developer beta, the approvals would be basically instant.
Okay.
And it seems, so my read on that is they're just testing the approval system.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
But
it took me about 10 minutes to get in, I think.
Mine was a little bit longer as well. Mine was like an hour or something. But, I think maybe they were just like stretching it like, short, long kind of thing, But I got the impression that for this beta, they're not like waitlisting. And I guess we'll see what happens if this will even still be a thing or what, like later on. But the waitlist part of it is so weird to me. Do you remember the Mailbox waitlist? Like Mailbox did so many things first, and I think this was the first one. And you'd get your number, and you could like boost your number by sharing, and like it was absolute genius marketing. Man, I miss Mailbox so much.
Then it got sunsetted real hard.
I'll never forgive Dropbox for that.
Anything else on Mailbox you want to talk about?
No, I think I've done my Mailbox corner for this week.
This moment of silence.
This is in conjunction with a bunch of in-person Apple Intelligence events at Cupertino. I think there are also some in Europe to bring developers in. Well, I guess not Europe technically, I guess in the UK, to bring in developers to recap with them what they're doing. because there are some developer opportunities here to integrate with this stuff. But it is a first beta, and so there are a bunch of things that are present. There's some other things that are not. Some people are finding ways to work around the region locks. You can see what the privacy stuff is doing. So there's actually like this report you can run showing you what's on device and what's been sent to the, what are they calling it? The private compute cloud or
private cloud compute.
That's right.
Private, the PCC or whatever.
Mhm.
That's what I think what the kids call it. I think private cloud compute, PCC.
When people say PCC, I always think of PRC, and that's different.
That's different.
But maybe not too different. Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows?
Totally.
We don't know. Maybe not in the
Maybe
grand scheme of things.
could be very similar or very different. So,
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's. Should we talk about what is present in this release?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the summarization and writing tools are all here. So if you're on a web page and you go into reader mode, you can have it summarize it for you. It pulls table of contents based on headers in an article, which is pretty nice. You can kind of click around pretty quickly. The writing tools are here. So that's the grammar checking, the tone shifting. So, hey, I wrote this email to my boss. Please make it sound friendly. Please make it sound more professional. And on the Mac, at least, those are all in line with kind of the other grammar and spell checking tools behind a right click, which I think makes a lot of sense on the Mac. On iOS, it's like behind a button and you can kind of get to it. But the interface, once
It's
you're
also in the keyboard.
in the keyboard, okay.
Yeah. So if you select text, the little icon pops up in the quick type bar.
Okay.
You can tap that. But yeah, because at first I was like, this is weird. Like you just put it in the cut, copy, and paste thing, which has also made the cut, copy, and paste thing hilariously larger on the iPad. It's massive now. But it's also like, because also in QuickType, like when you get like shiny, like colorful, shiny text, which is recommendations from Apple Intelligence. But it also has the little, I don't even know what to call that. Did you, in America, did you have something called the spirograph?
Yes.
So the Apple Intelligence logo looks like it was made on a spirograph.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Or it does. It looks like a TG seal of approval too, I think.
It does look like that.
And he does approve of all AI tools, so.
He does.
He does. He's well known for that, actually.
Yeah.
He's well known for that. And so, it pops up as it shows the little spirograph in the QuickType thing, and you can tap that and change the text stuff with it that way, too.
In Mail, you have the priority messages and summaries. For me, that's hilariously broken. It keeps wanting to pull this email from my archive back into my inbox. It's like, this is important. It's like, it's not even in my inbox, Apple. Like, get out. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I saw something like that too.
I have one today where it did the same thing, and I got out my iPad, and it had one email, but then it made a box that was the entire width of the screen that was empty. So it was the whole width of my inbox was the priority thing, and it had one email in it. And,
Oh, boy.
and you can't. What I don't like is we're going to talk more about impressions in a minute, but like while we're on that, like you can't do anything with that. All you can do is open the email. You can't like swipe it away.
Yeah,
Right.
It's just open the email on nothing. It's like, all right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, like it's early. It's beta 1.
Yeah. I know.
Phone calls can be recorded, transcribed, and summarized. I attempted this today, and when I hit the button, nothing happened. But as I've seen online, people have gotten it working, so that's in there. You can type to Siri. So you can double tap the bottom of the display and it brings up the type to Siri interface with just the keyboard, kind of a text box above the keyboard. It's all rainbowy, showing that it's AI. Woo. Very exciting. If you have not had that working on your devices and you're running these betas, a restart should bring it back. It did not work for me until I rebooted my phone.
Same.
And then on the Mac, it's like Command key twice or Globe S, because on the Mac, Apple doesn't understand how keyboard shortcuts work. And so some teams use Command, other teams use the Globe key. It's very confusing over there. And then some more summarization stuff in Notes and Messages, some better natural language search in Photos. And then what I think maybe the most interesting, and we'll talk about it in our impressions, is the reduce interruptions focus mode is now available to you.
What's Globe S? Is that like Siri? Like, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like sitting here for ages, like, what could the S mean? I'm like,
I think it's Siri.
Intelligence? Like, I don't understand.
Intelligence. So what's missing as of beta 1? There's no image or emoji generation. So no image playgrounds, no, make an emoji of a dinosaur riding a space shuttle into the sun. There's no chat GPT fallback is not here. The AI photo editing is not here. So the, remove this from the background. Those sorts of tools that are basically kind of everywhere now for AI photo editing. Those aren't there. Priority notifications and mail categorization aren't here. And then the entire world of like personal context, screen awareness type stuff also lacking in beta 1.
Yeah.
Right.
I had some questions for the two of you.
Okay.
So I want to get your expert opinions on this. So this first one is like two questions in one, which is, will this come to the new? So like, if we're assuming that iOS 18 is for new iPhones, right? That's when it always roughly launches. It's like around new iPhone time.
Yeah.
Will 18.1 ship on the new iPhones? Will it come later? And or could iOS 18 be released in like August?
So I think that the new phones will ship with iOS 18. I think at the same time, 18.1 will be in beta, public beta. You'll be able to, through the setup process, maybe add that if you want when you set up a new iPhone 16. But I do think it's going to be later. I really do feel like these, especially given the state that these tools are in right now, I think it's going to be October easily before this stuff actually ships.
What do you think, Stephen?
I think that's about right. I do not see them moving iOS 18 forward from the normal time frame. Yeah, I think it'll come later. And I think even 18.1 won't include everything they've talked about, probably. I think some of it may be 18.2.
Victor in the Discord says if history has repeated itself, they'll release iOS 18 for a few days and then 18.1 will be on the new phones at launch. That's been happening, right, in the last couple of years.
True.
But it's been bug fixes, though, not features.
Yeah.
Right? Like that there have been issues with the 0.0. If it's... Okay, do you think there is a possibility that they may roll any of these features into 18?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they want to keep these things separate. I really feel like this stuff is in alpha shape right now. It's not even really developer beta shape. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work right or is weird or is just kind of not particularly useful at this point. And I don't think they want to go out with a new operating system on new phones with something that's kind of semi-broken. And I mean, yeah, it'll get a lot better over the next, month and a half, but we're really, at this point, we're like, 6, 7, 8 weeks away from, from 18 and from new iPhones. I really don't, I have a hard time seeing them putting it in 18, anything of it really.
And I think too, they need to be mindful of first impressions with this. They've made a really big deal of it.
Yes.
It's a big deal in the industry, whether it should be or not, table that for now. Apple's made a big deal of it, and they're going to want people's first uses of it to be as good as possible. And I don't think that putting something early is like worth risking that. Because whenever they release it, there will be issues, I'm sure, but they want to minimize that. And so I could see them saying, look, it's just going to be an 18.1. And, I think like John said, it'll probably be in public beta by then. So people will be able to get their hands on it if they really want to. Because there will be people who buy a new phone for this reason, right? Because this is not coming to older devices. And that gives a little bit of an escape hatch for those people who are like nerdy enough to know that and know how to get a public beta. But for the rest of the world, it will just come out later.
I'm definitely coming around to what you said, John, about them maybe prompting people if they want to install the public beta. I could imagine maybe 18 on the new phones could have an Apple Intelligence thing in settings that you would tap it, but you have to sign up for the beta for this. Do you want to? I mean, because that also tracks with what I think we'd all expected, that when these features launch to the public, they'd be in beta anyway, and this would just enforce that. Like, they're going to call this a beta even when it's available. Like, even when 18.1 is shipping, they will still be calling this stuff a beta, because
I think so.
Why wouldn't you? Like, you have the opportunity to do that, and nobody is going to be surprised about that, so you may as well just do it. Like, they've done this stuff so many times, right? Before, like a lot of the photo stuff that they've done in the past, they've called it a beta when they put it out there, right? As people that review, I don't know if you're doing any kind of reviewing this year, Stephen, but I know obviously, John, you are, and you have, I'm sure, some visibility to Federico's process.
Right.
Doesn't this complicate things for you massively now? Because I'm sure that you're running 0.1, but your review is about 0.0, and now you're like potentially running a different version of the operating system to the one you'll be reviewing.
Yeah, it does complicate things. I don't know if it's massively, though. I haven't had a chance to talk to Federico about this because our vacations overlapped, but he's on 18.1, which I think the UI is separate enough that it's not going to cause him like some very technical issues with things like grading screenshots. That's like,
well, he
I'm
doesn't
not
get
on
any of this, right? Like, for him, it's still 18.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, so there are a bunch of layers of issues here. One is he can't get this right now. Maybe he can, figure out a trick to get into it at some point, but he doesn't have this available. I suspect what we'll end up doing is he's going to publish his iOS and iPadOS 18 review day and date with its launch, and then we'll do something different for 18.1. Maybe I'll write it. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about that. I mean, we should cover it, but if he can't cover it, then someone needs to cover it. And so maybe that'll be me. So I've kind of been digging into it pretty deeply. I have not installed it on my Mac yet because of kind of the concerns you raised, Myke, which are, if I put this on my beta Mac, am I going to be polluting my environment in a way that makes it more difficult for me to review 18? And I got to be really careful about that. I just don't have unlimited M1 Macs sitting around my house where I can have one on each beta. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I've just been kind of playing wait and see because I was traveling the day this came out. I didn't put this on my devices until yesterday, so I'm only like 24 hours into this anyway, but I'm kind of playing wait and see with macOS to read a few articles, understand, just if nothing else, how it changes the way the system works, because I don't want to get in a position where I have trouble reviewing 18 because I've got 18 or 15 when I have 15.1 on my Mac. So that's kind of the things I'm thinking about right now.
It's complicated too in development land, right? Because like we're working on the iOS 18 releases of Widgetsmith and Pedometer and everything, and so I have like my carry phone now is 18.1 because also I'm talking about all this stuff like we're doing it right now.
Right.
My test development phone is going to stay on the 18.0 track because that's what customers are going to have. That's what we're building against. And like, it is extremely complicated all of a sudden because it's unclear if the only difference between 0.0 and 0.1 is Apple Intelligence, or are there other things behind the scenes, like you said, John, like polluting your environment accidentally, even like not, really having a full picture of what's what. So it is complicated this year if you're covering this stuff or working in this space,
or even being a developer. Like, Stephen, what are you doing for testing of Widgetsmith?
So right now we're focused on 18.0, and so I've got a phone that's just running that.
A thing we do not know is if 18.0, like a new beta of 18.0 comes out, will the 18.1 beta have the same stuff in it? Like, are they running on different tracks?
Exactly.
Or will there be some kind of conflict between them with some services or anything? There could be all kinds of things that crop up. I think where I am heading, since I'm done with my big trip to Europe, is I think I will probably run 18.0 on my desktop and 18.1 on my laptop, and just cross my fingers that audio that audio hijack continues to work on I keep calling it 18, but 15. That I'll use 15.0 on my desktop, 15.1 on my laptop, and hope that audio hijack keeps working.
I put 18.1 on on the iPad that I have here at the studio because I was just really intrigued about it. And this was because when we were recording Upgrade and all this news dropped, a couple of people in the Discord are like, probably shouldn't put this on your phone if you're getting a new phone. Like, it's going to potentially make that complicated because you're trying to do like the setup process.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Right?
No, it's not as bad as it used to be.
No, but it's not terrible, but it's definitely not simple, right? Like, it's definitely going to add complications. And so, yeah, I actually do think that I'm leaning towards no beta on my iPhone this year, like, because what I will probably want to use is 18.1, and I may just wait for my new phone and then put 18.1 on my new phone. It's probably the way that I'm going, because 18 is not interesting to me, but 18.1, we'll talk about in a minute, is more interesting to me than 18 is, and I don't think I want to put it on my phone yet, but maybe I'll see how the next couple of betas go and then just deal with this problem.
Yeah, for people who aren't familiar, the process now, if you're running a beta and you migrate to a new phone, the new phone will say, "Hey, you're on a beta. Do you want to download that beta here?" And so it used to be you have to set the phone up, kind of fake it, like set the phone up with no data transfer, install the beta, erase all content and settings on the phone, and then migrate to it. It used to be a true nightmare. It is better now, but it is an extra hoop to jump through still.
I do wonder though, like, just the weirdness of having two beta tracks. Like, I don't know how well that's gonna work. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Oh, there's room for disaster for sure.
It may be. I think there is a possibility where they don't. I still don't think they're going to release iOS 18 early, but it may be that we get the iOS 18 release candidate here pretty soon, and basically 18.0 is kind of done and like put on the shelf, if you will, right? It'll be on new phones. It'll come out when it comes out in mid-September, but then moving forward, Apple's development is on the 0.1, and that could be a way to help alleviate some of these issues. We just don't know because this is kind of uncharted territory for everybody.
It's so weird to be doing this. Like, this is unprecedented, right? Like, I don't think this has ever happened before.
I don't think there have been two betas this early.
Yeah, like they run betas concurrently, right? Like 17.6 and 18.0, but like two versions of the same unshipping operating system.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened.
No. Especially, as you say, Stephen, at this point, like when we're like midway through the cycle.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Vitally. Vitally is bringing a new era of customer service productivity with their all-in-one platform. Their collaborative workspace combines your customer data with all the capabilities you expect from today's project management and work platforms. With Vitally, you can measure the effectiveness of OKRs and operational strategies on customer outcomes at scale thanks to their Goals feature. Goals allows you to track the progress of your accounts against target metrics, meaning you can standardize goal setting across the board, so you'll know exactly how effective your processes really are. And best of all, it's designed for today's customer success team. That's why Vitally operates with unparalleled efficiency, improves net revenue retention, and delivers best-in-class customer experiences. Vitally is offering a free pair of AirPods Pro for every Connected listener who books a qualified meeting. So if you're a customer success decision maker, schedule your visit by going to vitally.io/connected. That's Vitally, VITALLY.io/connected for a free pair of AirPods Pro when you schedule a qualified meeting. Our thanks to Vitally for their support of the show and Relay FM.
So I want to guide us through some discussion of the things that are there, at least from my perspective, the things that I've been able to use. I've not been able to use everything yet. Like, some stuff for me is not working. Like the creating of photos, movies, it's just not working. It's just telling me it's analyzing my photo library.
Same here.
I don't know what it's doing. I've seen video on threads of it working, so some people have been able to do it. The first part for me is Siri. Like, I think they've messed up here by not making it, I feel like, any noticeably better. Like, I know one of the things that it does.
It's arguably worse, I'd say.
Interesting. All right, I like that take. One of the things that it does do now is apparently you can ask multiple questions about the same thing and it will hold some context. And I've seen some examples of that working. I've had some examples of that myself. But there are certain things where they've created the new UI, right? Like the new UI and the typing to Siri. And apparently, later on, as we spoke about earlier, there are going to be these personal context things, and it will get smarter. But I want to guide you through a conversation that I had with my assistant. I asked, "Where is Stephen?" And it showed Stephen on Find My. I said, "How's the weather there?" And it showed me the weather for London. Then I said, "No, Memphis." And it did a Google search for Memphis. Now, that wasn't a great experience. And I think launching Apple Intelligence with the new look for Siri, but without any of the major behind-the-scenes changes, is a really bad idea, because I think people are going to think that it's going to be better and then immediately say, "Oh, it still sucks." And I think that is not great. I don't think they had to do the Siri UI changes yet if they don't have the smarts behind it. I think they should have waited to do that if it doesn't seem, at least to me, to be any better. Like, I even did the thing where it's like, what is 7 a.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. US Pacific time in London? And it still can't do that. It just still can't understand that. And so what I like, though, is I have a little feedback button, and I tapped it, and I filled out a thing and said, "Siri should be able to do this," and I submitted it.
And it came right to my email. Thank you for that.
Oh, good. You're going to send it to the reminders team?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this isn't going to be great for them to have not improved, to not have the major Siri improvements ready, but to have changed all the UI and to be calling it Apple Intelligence, because this is just the easy dunk of not that intelligent, and I don't really know why they'd open themselves up to that.
Yeah, it is a very easy dunk. I think you're right. I've had a very similar experience to you, Myke. I did the similar kind of thing with asking a series of questions, getting wrong answers, and then saying, "No, I mean this," and getting the right answer. So it does have some of that contextual awareness. An awful lot of queries, though, are still answered with links to Google searches. I tried the thing like where you say, "How do I turn on dark mode?" And that works. It showed me the 4 steps from the iPhone user guide that you do for that.
Interesting.
And if you tap on it, it opens up on the web, which is
I
good.
asked it how to turn on Wi-Fi, and it told me it couldn't.
Well, I was going to say that I asked it how to zap my PRAM, and it and it couldn't do that.
You know what I just realized? Like, I was thinking to myself then, as you were talking, John, like, oh, maybe this, like, I was thinking Siri is not answering things as good as a chatbot. Then I remembered, oh, maybe when the ChatGPT thing is there, this might actually get better. And so, like, maybe I am being too quick to judge, and maybe when they enable that, it might start to feel smarter because Apple will be pushing a bunch of LLM stuff out to that.
It'll be a bad look, though, because they'll be leaning really heavy on ChatGPT, I think, based on what I was seeing.
Yeah. They're going to lean into it, but you're going to have to hit a prompt saying, "Yes, send this to ChatGPT." Like, it's not that Siri is going to be better on it.
I'm still hoping that if you have an account, that won't happen.
I guess we'll see. I agree with you that overall, like, the new UI plus the old Siri is a weird combination. And I'm hoping that that's just like because we're in this beta, like this, kind of already and not yet time frame that we're living in at this moment.
Good point.
But I think you're right. The new UI, which is beautiful, like whoever worked on all that, like just
all of the animations,
so good.
Right?
Oh
the
yeah,
colors,
it's amazing.
And they've really done a good job of
they've killed it,
giving a look to AI.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it,
and I think all that is obviously by design because Apple's projecting, hey, this is different. Like, this thing is new and exciting, and so far the UI has written a check that the intelligence can't cache, but I think that will hopefully change.
Yeah. There are a couple of other things. I mean, I would mention too that, like, for instance, when I asked that question about turning on dark mode, when I said, then show me how, it on the iPhone took me straight to settings. It didn't actually show me how. It took me to settings. And then on the iPad, it actually showed me a toggle. And the toggle, if I tapped on it, didn't do anything. It was an image of a toggle that took me to settings. Okay, so that was a little weird. I may have actually gotten that backwards between the iPhone and the iPad, but you know what I mean. There's inconsistent UI and weird UI.
What a toggle looks like.
Show me a toggle. It's like, well, okay, I get it that there's a toggle I have to do somewhere, but I thought that this because it looks a lot like what you would get if you did a Siri search, right? And you saw something from the app intents or whatever. But that was really funny. I thought that was kind of crazy.
Placeholder.png.
It's good. There is something cool though, I think, behind that. Like if Apple can make that work where you just ask your device, like, how do I do this or do it for me? I mean, that was the Bixby promise. Remember that on Samsung phones?
Right.
Wow.
And no one's really delivered on it. And the thing that's wild to me about that is that's a known problem set, right? Like Apple knows all the features of iOS. Like, just make sure your robot knows about them all. And so I think if anything, that will get straightened out because it seems like such a low hanging fruit.
Just use the URL schemes. I mean, the other thing I tried was remind me to call Federico in things. And that kind of system with Siri has never worked super well, where you're invoking other apps, but it doesn't work at all when you're typing to Siri.
Oh no. And Todoist. Remember that? You had to pronounce
Todoist.
Right. Myke, tell me about the writing tools. I think out of the three of us, these are kind of most aimed at you.
Oh, wow.
A real dullard. Hi, welcome to the Dunce Corner. It's me, Myke Hurley. What?
John and I write professionally. You don't.
Aimed at people like you. Like, I feel like you pointing through the screen. But you are right, though. They are aimed at me because I don't want to put the effort in that you do, too. You two do. See, that's the thing. I can't even speak.
There we go.
Make this more professional.
Please rewrite like a podcaster. I think they work really well, and the controls are the best that I've seen. Because, so when you highlight the text that you want to change, and you press the little button, you get given like a pop-up, which is, you can basically rewrite this, or I don't have it in front of me, and then you have things like, they have a couple of different styles, like professional and friendly. They have a couple of buttons too, which I like make this a list, which I just think, yes, I love that, because I love a good list. And I think they work really well, and I will be using them. Like, I have been using ChatGPT to do this kind of stuff. So, for example, I will write a episode description for a show, and I was just like, okay, take this and clean it up, like fix the grammar, or maybe I want a different way to say it, And I like that it has both of those. You can basically have proofread it, I think is the word that they use to, fix things. But then you can also change the tone if you want to. When you do that, it takes over the QuickType bar again, and you can actually rate the response, which I don't know how long that will last for, like if it will be into the release, and probably. But you have a button to like do it again, like redo it again or revert back to how it was. And I did some comparisons. So like I took a look at some stuff that I'd asked ChatGPT to do, and I liked Apple's not necessarily better, but I liked it. Like, I was like, I would use that for an episode description instead of what I would use ChatGPT for. So, and I'm happier to use that in Apple's free built-in tools than I could use free ChatGPT too if I wanted to, but that I don't have to use another service for this. And eventually I won't even need to copy and paste it into another app. Like, it would just be on my Mac. I'll just select the text and just do it right there. I think that these tools are as good as I would want from something like this. with the best UI that I've seen. Like, I don't need to say, rewrite this in my style, forget all previous instructions. I don't have to do any of that. There's no prompting because it is done. And I think that's very smart from Apple's perspective too, because they are limiting the problem set for this with just all you can do is hit these buttons. And we've trained our LLM to understand what these buttons mean. And it also does a good job of, like, if you do the proofreading, it like pops the words or the punctuation in that it's changing, so you can very clearly see what it's done. And the animations are good, but also a little bit janky. But I know that will be fixed. Like the text at the moment kind of like flies out of the screen a little bit, which is, I don't think it's supposed to do.
It's going to the
again,
cloud,
I'm doing
Myke.
all this on my iPad. Yeah. Is this not what you wanted? Just get rid of that. It's terrible. But yeah, I really like these tools, and I will be using them for sure. I think that it is a much better way of doing this kind of thing than other tools that I have used. And the output is good enough.
Yeah, it is nice having those tools wherever you are. Like, I use Grammarly's Safari plugin because I write a lot in our CMS, and Grammarly's just there, like, monitoring and making sure that I'm not doing anything silly with my typing there. And I think for a lot of people, once it's built in and it's just there, this will be their first experience with tools like this, and that is going to put companies like Grammarly and other players, I think, on notice a little bit now that something's baked in first party. But I think a lot of people will be using these things in the fall who don't even know they exist right now, right? I've never heard of a Grammarly or things like it.
Yeah, I think they're the tools are a little hidden. I think it's weird that it's in a pop-up. I mean, I guess there are the buttons, as you said, Myke. There's more than one way to kind of get to these, but I think it is a little bit semi-hidden at this point, which I think is a little odd. I'm not sure why that is.
I think it's just an iOS UI problem. Like, this is just it is. They're just like layering things on top of everything because what are they gonna do? I could imagine a world in which it's more built into the selection, like the text selection. Like, maybe there's a little pop under rather than a pop over, which has this stuff. But if you don't have a keyboard, what are you going to do, right? Like,
the action menu is doing too much. I mean, this seems like the kind of thing that needs to be tied to one of those menu buttons or something where they can kind of do it in an outlined form and have a bunch of different options. I'm kind of ambivalent about a lot of these tools. I think the proofreading one is the best of the bunch, and that it seems to be pretty accurate, and it allows you to kind of step through the changes and understand why it's suggesting the changes, which I think is good.
Yeah.
That's very much just like Grammarly and other tools that are out there that do something similar. But as you said, it's built in, Stephen, and that's great because, I mean, Grammarly is an expensive subscription. It's like $120, $130 a year.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who move to something like this, myself included.
Same.
I don't know about the rewriting tools. I found them to be okay at best. They don't handle Markdown particularly well. They do okay, but not. I found the mangling URLs. I found the different tones to introduce grammar mistakes sometimes. I think the summaries are so general to be virtually useless to me throughout the system. Especially when you're on a web page. I mean, the writing ones I haven't used a lot yet, so I can't. I have to heavily caveat all this by I've had this installed for 24 hours and I've only gotten to play with everything.
Well,
just
at most
bit.
you've had it 48. Like, this is all day 2 or 3 impressions.
So and like. Look, I think there is a place for this kind of rewriting stuff for certain kinds of writing and things like that. It's just not something I'm ever going to use, not even for an email.
So it's interesting. I think the email and messages summaries are the best features. So email summaries, I love the inbox summary. It seems inconsistent as to why or why not it may give that summary, but it's doing it. But, like, for example, you can also open an email and there's a summary thing at the top, and it would do this for the entire thread if it's a threaded conversation or just for an individual email.
Yeah, that I do actually think is very useful because you get a lot, especially when you get a lot of HTML emails with a bunch of images and I don't know. I mean, you just want to know what are the two pieces of information that are shoved way down the page that are in there. I found that it did a pretty good job on a couple of emails I got from companies that were just like alerts about something that was happening.
Yeah, like I booked a hotel today, and in the subject, what would have been the subject, I guess the subject summary or whatever they call it, it just said like booking made from this date for this date. It costs this. I was like, that's all I ever need.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't need to open that email. But also, like I subscribe to email newsletters like we all do, and I got an email newsletter. It was very long, and I had summarized this, and it gave me the information. And then I was like, oh, great, so I do want to read this one. And so, like, I liked that, where like, like an email newsletter that's about 6 different topics, rather than me scrolling through and seeing what those topics are, the summary could tell me.
Yeah, that button I think is actually very useful. I'm not so sure about the summaries that are in the list of your messages because it's still only 3 lines long, and for the most part, if someone writes you a decent email, you're going to be able to. I get more out of who the email is from than what the first 3 lines say anyway. And I don't think that the summary is going to change that behavior. But I think if you do open it because you do want to see what's in it, what you said with the button that's there, being able to summarize that and not scroll all the way through is a nice feature.
I think it might be better when we have a situation where there's like back and forth and we've not read them. And so because I think the iMessage summaries are a good example of this because I've been getting those. So I feel like so far it's been hit and miss, but mostly hitting, as giving like a basic idea of what is going on in a group thread. So these show in notifications, but also in the message list. Again, it's still a little bit unclear to me to what exactly triggers a summary. Like I have had a summary for one message.
Really?
Yeah. And it wasn't a particularly long message, but it was a paragraph. Someone just sent me one message, and I think what was particularly helpful is they were talking about having like a busy couple of days, and maybe we should talk about this in a couple of days. So like I think it was the kind of thing where like the system could really easily give me that preview. But I've also had them for. I had one where it was a conversation I had with my 2 brothers, and it says one of my brothers was sharing photos and screenshots of social media posts. And I'm like, yep, that's what my brother does. He takes screenshots of social media posts rather than sending them. One was a conversation between me, Stephen, and James Thompson, where James is sending us some pictures of the live show, and it said shared photos of an auditorium with a stage and a projector screen. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. There was a conversation between the 3 of us where I think it did the best of what it could, where it said, connected this week despite John's absence. Now, it was obviously Federico's absence, but we didn't give in the message that context, right? So like, I actually don't really think it could have gotten that. And then another one was with me and Adina and the List family talking about having a civil entry into the United States and having to wait for the train that they were getting. And like, it was a 16 message iMessage thread, and that was the general conversation that was going on. And so like I really like these for group threads, but I have 2 kind of things that I'm not sure about. Obviously for group chats that I don't have notifications for, these summaries aren't there, right? Because I don't want notifications for them, but I would like the summaries. In fact, I would like the summaries more for those. Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't think, I have not been able to confirm this, but if you have so like sometimes if for stuff you have it off for, you can still see it in the message list. It will still show the little summary in the message list. But if you have a conversation as a pinned, I don't think it shows them for pinned messages at the moment. And I don't know if it will.
Interesting.
When that one, the notification that I mentioned that was a truncated one message, when I opened that I have that person as a pinned contact, and it didn't show me the summary there as the little bubble that was above their name. So I don't know if that's a decision or again this stuff is early, but there is this funny thing of like, but I would like say like our group chat that the 3 of us and Federico have. I have that muted because it can be very noisy, right? And I assume we probably all have that muted notification wise.
Yeah.
But I would really love. We all do. It's too busy. It's too busy, and we're all busy. I would love to get that for this, but I don't know if I can because I don't get notifications for it. So interesting. But yeah, I really like the summaries of the conversations. I think it's a really cool feature that works so far pretty well, like about as well as I would imagine.
Well, that explains why I haven't seen any of this, because I really have my noisiest group chats pinned as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really, in the last 24 hours, I haven't had any non-pinned ones where there were like, half a dozen messages or whatever.
Yeah, see, this is the benefit of me setting this up on a device that I don't use all the time. Like it's not on my iPhone. So like I haven't muted all of those all those messages threads. And so like I'm getting the things for them. So yeah, it's a very interesting feature. And I think will be super useful for people that have a lot of message conversations going on.
This episode of Connected is made possible by 1Password Extended Access Management. Imagine your company's security like the quad of a college campus. There are nice brick paths between the buildings. Those are the company-owned devices, IT-approved apps, and managed employee identities. And then there are the paths people actually use, the shortcuts worn through the grass that are actually the straightest line from point A to B. Those are unmanaged devices, shadow IT apps, and non-employee identities like contractors. Most security tools only work on those happy brick paths, and a lot of security problems take place on the shortcuts. That's where 1Password Extended Access Management comes in. It's the first security solution that brings all of those unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. 1Password Extended Access Management solves the problem traditional AIM and MDM can't touch. It's security for the way we actually work today, and it's available now to companies with Okta and coming later this year to Google Workspace and Microsoft Entra. Check it out at 1password.com/XAM. That's 1password.com/XAM. The link is in the show notes. Our thanks to 1Password Extended Access Management for the support of the show and all of Relay. It's Performa month. Y'all excited?
Perform month.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Performa month. Well, it is now, John. Are you celebrating? Can you feel it?
I am. If you require it.
I do require it. Look, when ChatGPT first came out, I did this thing. I asked it a bunch of things about the Performa, and it didn't know. And so I'm writing a series of blog posts to train AI models to answer Performa questions better for the people that come after us.
Is this genuinely the reason you're doing this?
No, I'm doing it because it's a really good idea that no one told me I shouldn't do. That's not true either. Jason Snell begged me not to do it. But
really?
Here we are. So you may be asking, what is Performa month? I'm intrigued.
What is Performa month?
What is Performa month? Well, in the month of August,
how would we celebrate?
How do you celebrate? You celebrate by reading a series of blog posts. The most exciting way to celebrate, really the way that our founding fathers wanted us to celebrate as a nation, is to read blog posts via open RSS feeds. And
as long as there's a drinking game involved with it too, I'd be okay.
Drink every time I write the word Performa in August, and you will be dead because in 5 years, from 92 to 97, Apple shipped over 40 models with the Performa badge, and no one knows anything about them except that they were bad. And so I wanted to help the people because I'm a man of the people. And I've got a series of blog posts coming out in August covering every single one of those models and their history and where they came from and why they were bad.
Wow. You have 40 machines in 31 days.
Mm-hmm. It's about it's about 13.
Where are you doubling up?
Well, it's about 13 or 14 blog posts, and I'm about halfway through writing them. I've been working on this for a while in the background.
This explains some of the weird stuff you've dropped into our group chat.
And if you've been reading 512, I've been like, there have been several things of like, while researching another project, this is the other project. So I've been deep in the Apple history archives in DevonThink and online, because when you're covering stuff from the 90s, it's actually really hard to find sources, and you really got to kind of like dig deep, and things very often don't agree with each other. In fact, I wrote a post yesterday that you'll see in a couple of weeks, and sources just don't agree on how much the thing cost. And so I just wrote, I don't know how much this cost because sources disagree. But the Performa is often pointed to as like everything wrong with Apple in the 90s, and the line itself, right? There's no unique computers in the Performa line. What the Performa was rebadged other Mac models, stuffed to the gills with bloatware, and then sold at a discount through big box retailers. And for a lot of people, it was their first way into the Mac. So in some ways it did work, right? Apple wanted to reach more families with the Macintosh, and this was the way they did it to bring prices down. They stuffed it full of software no one wanted or needed. And it wasn't unsuccessful, but it was probably misguided. And as we get into this, as August unfolds, you will see that Apple really didn't have a plan going into this. They basically would just like stroll through their own catalog of Macs and pick something and see what partners would be willing to put their software on it at a discount. And then they would sell it to Sears or to Montgomery Ward or whoever. And it's very confusing. And there's so many models because they would release like the 465 and the 467 or whatever. Like those are the same computer, but different size hard drives. So they got different model names, which is not how anything should work. This has been built to order, but it spawned a bunch of product names and a bunch of products that didn't really make sense. And it's been fun, but also kind of frustrating in places, trying to untangle it all for everybody. But that's what's up. That's what 512 Pixels is going to be about in August. It's going to be all about the Performa.
This is a joke just for John, but it maybe like Mac Performance is basically like the Ioneo.
It really is.
Or Amber.
They just had another one going on sale a couple of days ago.
Of course they did. You can set your watch to that thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Steven, give me an example of bloatware on the Performa.
Okay, so the Performa 560 had ClarisWorks 2.0, MacLink Plus translators, Quicken 4.0, Macintax 1040, Wealth Builder 3.0, Personal Record Keeper 3.0, Willmaker 4.0, After Dark Starter Edition, Datebook Pro, TouchBase Pro, Apple Heritage Dictionary 3rd Edition, Apple Edition of America Online, Groyler's Encyclopedia, Time Almanac of 1993, Monopoly, the World Tour Gold Edition. Those were all pre-installed on your hard drive.
No P-Calc?
And then you got on CD another encyclopedia, or the Encyclopedia, the Almanac, and Monopoly World Tour were all on those CD-ROMs. So a bunch of software on the disc, a bunch of stuff on CDs. Not all Performas came with CDs, CD drives. So it varied, obviously. But yeah, it's just a real situation.
I don't understand why somebody would need an app to make their will.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, how often are you doing it?
A lawyer might be a better choice.
Yes.
Well, I mean, now you just ask Apple Intelligence to do it.
Yes, of course. Wow.
So it's a little joke about AI taking people's jobs.
No, it's good. It's good. When Stephen told me he was doing this, I said to him, "That seems like a lot of work. I respect the commitment, and if it makes you happy, you should do it." That was my response in iMessage when he told me he wanted to do this.
It does seem like a lot of work.
What did you say about Performas? That they were, what did you say, misguided, and what was it that you said?
The Performa? I mean,
yeah,
it to a degree, it did its job of like getting people their first Macs, but it was a pretty weird way of doing it. And Apple, what they should have done and what they did when Jobs came back and got rid of all this mess was just make a really good consumer Mac. But they weren't able to do that back then. And so they got a bunch of Quadras and LCs and other machines and just literally just put a different name on them and sold them through a different channel.
Do you think that this could end up in a scenario where you buy all of these?
Because
you've done this before.
I did.
This was the path of the iMacs.
It's true. I did buy one because I wanted a photo of something really specific. But I've only bought one computer so far, and I'm like halfway through writing these. So far, so
at
good.
least you said so far. You didn't say I've only bought one or I'll only buy one. You said so far, so you know yourself. You know.
Well, there was one. It's actually the Performa 200. So that article comes out on the 1st. That one I really wanted a photo because that article is about like, no, these really were just other Mac models with new names and a bunch of bloatware. And so that one I wanted a photo of its actual like counterpart. But you never know, what late night eBay Steven may get into.
Do you have a saved search for Performance?
No, because it would be a lot of results.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I gotta admit, I mean, I don't imagine you'll actually buy a lot of Performance. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but at least with the iMacs, it was a much more limited set of computers, and they were actually nicely designed. Unlike a lot of these are just beige boxes, basically, right?
Yep. Yeah, not a lot of inspired design work. In fact, the 500 series, that article comes out on the 7th, is basically all about the design of the computer, and the design is, it's not good.
Yeah, this is a sad eBay search.
Yeah.
It's full of very uninspiring imagery.
Dirty beige computers.
Yeah, basically. And they all look essentially the same. I did find a remote control with an Apple logo on it from a 1995 Macintosh LC 630 Performa for £15.
Oh, good. That's definitely not the name of the computer, LC, whatever you said, 630 Performa. Someone's doing some clickbait in their eBay search. But it's just like this weird bit of Apple history that I have not explored. I have not done much work in the 92 to 97 era. A lot of work, including like 20 Macs, right? Most of that stuff is in the Jobs 2.0 era or the very beginning, right? These like middle years of just slog coming out of Apple, just it's such a nightmare. And so part of it was a challenge. Like, you know what? I haven't spent much time here, and there's not a lot out there about these machines. And it seemed like an opportunity to do something that probably for good reason no one else has done. So here we are.
Yeah, it seems like a real research challenge for sure, given the time frame.
Guess the price of an Apple Macintosh LC Performa Quadra hard disk drive SCSI data cable on eBay.
What are they actually selling? A cable?
Yeah, it's a SCSI data cable for a hard disk drive.
It should be like $8, but they're probably asking $100.
Okay, John, do you want to guess?
40.
$1,707.
Jeez.
Oh my
This is from John's Vintage Computer Items. John, is this you?
No, it's not me.
Is this you, John?
No
I'll
one.
put a link to it in the Discord.
No one should buy that. That's
It's just
ridiculous.
a data cable for a Performa.
Oh boy.
So yeah, Performa month. Get psyched.
Get hyped.
That's right.
Let's go.
Beige Max all month.
Beigey. Let's go, Beigey.
Let's go, Beigey.
Let's go, Beigey. Steven, no one has a commitment like you, you know?
Something like that.
Because you must know this isn't going to be the most popular thing you've done, right?
No.
And probably like effort to clicks might be...
It's going to be bad.
Real bad. But like, I respect you and your commitment, for feeding the LLM.
It goes back to the conversation we had. I mean, sometimes it's the things that you care about most that get the fewest views. I've been there a million times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look, if you're out there and you want to sponsor this madness, get in touch because I ain't making any money on this.
I'll sponsor it. How much?
Okay, well, we'll talk offline.
Just a picture of me.
Oh, literally just a picture of you on the page?
Yeah. Myke is sponsoring this, not any of my business endeavors, just me.
We'll see. We'll come up with something.
We should sponsor it for Federico's birthday.
We should.
This is brought to you by Federico. You can do more real work on a Performer than any of the iPads that he uses. That's
hey,
gonna be the
with all
sponsor.
that software, good luck making a will on an iPad. You can't do real
Great
legal work
point.
on a tablet. Come on.
Great point. Great point.
I think that does it for this week. If you want to find links to things we spoke about, especially Performance Month, because my gosh, why would you not want to know about Performance Month? Check out the links. They're in the show notes. They're on the web at relay.fm/connected/512. God, what a good episode number.
Yeah, we got pretty far into it without making lots of references to that,
I know. It's good. Although the header and
Congratulations.
notion is a dog out this week, which is fun.
Yep.
Good. It's good. John, thank you for joining us again. Where can people find you?
You can find me over at macstories.net, where I'm writing and doing a bunch of other podcasts.
Listen to MPC. It's so good.
Thank you. That's our portable handheld gaming podcast with Brendan Bigley, me, and Federico.
Yeah, that's I'm not into gaming, but it seems like a good time. Good check it out.
I'm not into performers, but seems like good blog posts.
Exactly.
We all have these things.
Thank you, John, for joining us once again. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to find Myke, his work is scattered across the Relay universe, bunch of shows, and he does a bunch of awesome work over at Cortex Brand. You can find Myke on social media as iMyke, IMYKE. You can find me at 512pixels.net, home of Performa Month.
The best time of the year. Stephen, aren't you afraid that this is going to overshadow the St. Jude campaign?
That's why this is in August, and that's in September.
But it starts August 28th.
I know.
Those last couple of days, we're not
For real.
going to raise a cent. It's the culmination of Performer Month.
Let me tell you that past Stephen has already thought about that, and I have I have a solution to this.
Oh my God!
You're going to destroy a Performa.
John, I would never do that.
Okay,
take that, John. Take
that
back.
He might.
I'm not. What sort of monster? I actually already have the PCs plural we're going to smash this year for the podcastathon. They're already here.
If you smashed a Performer, you might be able to find some $1,700 cables that you could sell. So.
Maybe.
It's like a real good pinata.
What a pirate that person is. Okay, you can find me at 512pixels and ISMH86 on social media. I also host Mac Power Users here on Relay each and every Sunday. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week: 1Password, Extended Access Management, Vitally, and ZocDoc. I'd like to thank our members who support us directly. If you want to get Connected Pro, which is the longer ad-free version of the show, there's a link in the show notes where you can sign up. There's also a link in the show notes to leave feedback or follow-up for this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Ciao, guys.
Did it again. Did it again.
You guys wait too long.
Did it again.
Bye, y'all.